Hey, today we're doing a transmission service on a Holden Cruze 2010 model, and it's got the 6-speed 6T40 series transmission in it. Now he's done about 261,000 Ks, so fair sort of a mileage for one of those transmissions. So we're going to pop the covers off and take the transmission fluid out. Show you, to fill the transmission, you can see over here there's a little breather and the hose runs down, and it actually runs down to that little filler plug there. So to gain a bit more access to it when you're filling it, you can either squeeze your hand through here or just remove this this little air filter pipe here, but that's down the track. Also, just make sure you clean it all off before you open it so you don't get any muck in there. Blow it out with some air or however you're able to do that. We're doing it on the hoist. If you're doing this on the ground, you'd have to probably take this side cover off or just peel it back. And we just need to take this stone guard off. Because I'm working on the hoist, you don't have to take all that off. I can just tuck it back under there. Just when you're folding it over, make sure you don't put a sharp bend in it, otherwise it'll be a little bit deformed when you put it back on. Now over here, there's the drain plug, and if you have a look here, just behind the axle there, it's a little bit hard to see, it's just at the end of my finger there, that's where oil level plug is. So when you're filling it from the top, it should be just dribbling out of there. Okay, these plugs are 11 mil. And you can see the plug they could have even added a magnet to it if they were clever, but they didn't. These transmissions you got to pull apart to replace the filter, so a magnet would be a fantastic idea. And I'll just leave that for a little while and that'll come out nicely. If you're in a hurry, just get onto it, otherwise you can just leave it like that. Another thing you can do is actually blow through the oil level plug there, and that'll blow a little bit more of the rubbish that's in there, but it's important to do while there's still a bit of fluid there, so it can actually have a means of coming out through that little hole there. Here we have the Atra handbook. You can see where the drain plug is, the fill plug, and the check plug, which is that one just in front of the axle there, or behind the axle, sorry. Just quickly, there's a operation chart there of all the clutch packs. And there's a little bit of information on how critical the fluid level is on these. If you overfill them, they will leak out of the breather. So try and get it to between 85 and 95 degrees Celsius. That'll allow for the expansion of the oil. And check the oil level with the motor running. Now that's stopped dripping there. It's been there for probably a good hour. If you were to put a magnet on that plug, it's important, one thing is important to check, is just how far up that can go. So you can see there's something hitting there, so it's important to not let that magnet hit whatever's in there. So just keep that in mind if you are putting a magnet on the end of that plug. Put the plug back on, and you don't have to really over tighten these things or tighten them too hard. They are on a tapered thread going into alloy, which is just basically like your little aluminium washers. So that's all you need to do. You don't need to tighten them up like wheel nuts. So I'm just going to wipe that off now, and I'll leave that plug in there. If you have a look in the oil, there are some larger pieces of muck in there that have come out. You can see those little silvery flecks there. Okay, I've put the cover back on, but I've only just put 2 bolts in there just to hold it there while I test drive it. It was actually tie wired here, plastic strip, but I'll put all that back on later. And from experience, I know that these transmissions, when you do a service, they hold between 4.5 and 5 litres. So that's where I'm going to start. I'll put 4.5 litres in. Around that filler plug, just make sure you blow everywhere around here. You don't want any loose dirt or dust falling in that hole while you've got it out. Now I'm just going to pull that breather hose out just so I can undo that plug. I've just loosened a bit, half a turn, give it another. I really don't want any rubbish falling in there. And there she blows. There's a little plug there. You can see where the hose pushes in at the top there. So that's where we're going to fill it. You can see that, it won't focus on it. We're going to fill it in there, and we'll put about between 4.5 and 5 litres in. Like I said, it's important not to overfill it, or it will shoot the oil out of that breather. You can put Dextron 6 in these, but I'm going to use the Tritech low viscosity, and they actually handle the GM Dextron 6 as well. So we've filled it. I'm just going to take the filler out now. It's pretty close to where it should be anyway, and take for a test run, and then we'll just measure the temperature and make sure it's between those ranges, and check the oil level again underneath at that plug. And if you have a look on the plug, it actually does say Dextron 6. That plug back in. To put the hose on, the breather hose, and you can see the transmission's at about 50 degrees, so we've got to warm it up a fair bit. So I haven't taken it for a run yet. I'm just about to go now. Back from a test run, and you can see that the water temperature up here is nearly to half, so nearly at operating temperature. And we're on about 87 degrees, which is ideal to check the fluid level. So I'll keep it running and just lift it up, and we'll just check the oil level at that little plug there. Just make sure you're in park and the handbrake's on as well when you're checking it. I've got the plug off, but it's still not coming out, so I've just got to top it up a little bit more. There we go. You can see it just started coming out, and just turn the motor off. I'm going to put that plug in. I've put it on there and just tighten it up, and we can put this guard back on. There you go. That's how we do a service on a 6T40 45. Not hard to do. The hardest part of it is actually just getting that temperature up so you can measure it correctly. Anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.